Good evening and welcome to the October 7th meeting of the Glenville Town Board. Please rise for the invocation and pledge of allegiance. Let's join me in prayer. Dear Lord, we ask that you guide us in our service here tonight. Keep us well so we can continue to serve, and bless all of those in our community so that they can have the joy of a fulfilling life full of good health and companionship in surroundings that are beneficial to all. We ask this in your name. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please call the roll.
Councilman Martin?
Here.
Let the record show Councilman Pitlabani is absent. Councilman Mulot?
Here.
Councilwoman Worzbowski?
Here.
Supervisor Pettsley?
Here, as you see, the agendas are up front. There are only two add-ons on the agenda. They are already printed on the agenda. One is an add-on for a resolution scheduling a public hearing related to hearing all parties interested in the unsafe property at 1644 Rector Road. And the second add-on resolution is a resolution proclaiming October 25th as National Disability Employment Awareness Month throughout the town of Glenville. So with that, we'll start on the agenda, and we'll start with our town council reports. And we'll start on my left with Councilman Boulan. Councilwoman Worzbowski.
Mr. Supervisor, I had the pleasure of attending one of the Town Chiefs, Fire Chiefs Association meetings at the end of September. It was at the last Thursday in September. Things are going well for the fire departments. They're as busy as ever. This week is Fire Prevention Week, so I believe they're going around the schools in the town and doing fire safety and fire prevention activities with them. And East Glenville had their open house this past weekend, and I believe that Thomas Corners and Glenville Hill are this weekend. So
Thomas Corners had theirs last week.
So Glenville Hill is this weekend. So if you have a minute, thank your firefighters. They do all of this for free without any compensation whatsoever. Take a lot of time away from their families to train and to be prepared to answer any call that comes their way. And I'd like to offer a sincere thank you for all of their work through the town. They're definitely a gem in our community. That's it.
Thank you. Councilman Martin.
Nothing but to say thanks to the committee that organized the Oktoberfest. It was a wonderful day, another successful festival, and I think a good time was had by all. And just wanted to say thanks to the folks who put that together every year. They do a fine job, and it was great this year.
Thank you. We'll move on to item number 5, which is a public hearing to consider a zoning map amendment application by the town of Glenville to rezone the Outlaws Kill natural area property. Do I have a motion?
I'll move it.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Moved and,
This is just a public
So open a public hearing?
Just opening the public hearing.
oh yeah, I'm sorry. We don't need a motion, so we're going to
Okay,
open the public
I withdraw.
hearing. You withdraw your motion. See, without the attorney here, it all goes to...
Yeah, I see.
All right, so we're going to have a public hearing to consider the zoning map amendment application to rezone the Outlaws Kill natural area property from Anderson property and Christiana Preserve properties, all town-owned preserves and parks, from suburban residential to public park lands. So this is essentially moving this property from suburban residential to public parkland. I'll open the public hearing now. Anyone wish to be heard on this matter? Going once, going twice. Seeing none, we will close the public hearing for that rezoning. We will now move to privilege of the floor, which is item number 6. No one has signed up, but if anyone wishes to be heard at privilege of the floor, if you raise your hand, we'll invite you. Yes, Marcia.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening, all. I've had a couple of conversations with Supervisor Pettsley regarding some general concerns in the area that we live in. I reside at 29 Baldwin Road. As you're probably well aware of, there's been a wonderful resurfacing of Spring Road. There's been a tremendous amount of truck activity as a result of the 2 new GMC and Honda buildings going up. We have experienced an enormous increase in traffic, but our biggest concern is that the speed at which these trucks, particularly the Cranesville block cement trucks, have been going at. I have approached this in a few different ways. I've spoken to Mr. Ketzley, who has very kindly offered to help from his end. I have personally called Cranesville. I've spoken to their safety supervisor. I have spoken to several police officers who have offered their assistance to the best that they can. However, they have pointed out that they are stretched very thin. And obviously, I recognize that it's difficult for traffic like that to necessarily be a priority when the police force is thin, but it's something we need to recognize. And I just feel that if there is some assistance that we can get from the chief's office to speak to perhaps some of these independent truckers, to speak to Cranesville, and acknowledge the fact that these big trucks going 45 miles an hour on Spring Road or on Baldwin Road is just a huge safety hazard. So I'm speaking publicly so you know that I was very involved with the community concerns over the Amador development. I still get a lot of emails. Of course, Spring Road now is going to become a much greater concern as the Amador development goes forward. So I think as a community, we have a multifaceted problem here, and we need to recognize it prior to the Amador development going forward, and certainly as other things in this community, perhaps even the casino development. If we see an increase in truck traffic on roads that are really rural, residential, 35 miles an hour, how, guys, are we going to manage that with a police force that says they're struggling to do what they're currently doing now? So I'm here to basically represent the community of people who have spoken to me personally, and I'm here to ask for some help and for a plan. As you know, this Amador development is going to be a long-term project, could be as long as 7 to 10 years for that development to come to fruition. So I foresee us having to deal with this issue for a long time. I recognize that's progress and all those things, but I live on Baldwin Road. I've been there for 51 years. I run my business out of our farm. These problems concern me. So I'm here to chat with you and to let you know that the emails that I get, the neighbors that I talk to, we're all worried, and we wonder if there's a way that we can begin to start to formulate a plan to rectify this problem, to speak to independent truckers, to speak to Cranesville, to speak to the developer, to Amador, to know that in order to be a member of our community, you really have to make sure that this passage of time goes in a way that is good for all of us.
So, Marcia, there's been no change?
No change.
No change.
No change.
Do you have the names of the police officers you spoke to?
I've spoken to Lieutenant Conley. I've spoken to Cody Maggs. They're both friends of mine. I grew up with both of them. They are aware of the problem. I also spoke to the chief's secretary, I believe, had a very lengthy conversation with her. She was great. So there, you know, I've taken my own personal time to express to a lot of people that this is an issue. And I think trying to approach it, the communication with Cranesville, calling them personally and saying, hey, I'm a resident. I just want you to know your guys are not really doing themselves a service. They have a Class A CDL license. If there's an accident, they lose their job, you know. But I think that the community, that Cranesville should recognize, they live in this community. They are on Villi Road. You know, 35 miles an hour I don't think is too much to ask for a big truck to travel safely. And I followed them, guys, and I'm not the only one. The rest of the Spring Road residents are very concerned because you know Spring Road is a very easy road to speed on. Now that it's been resurfaced, you can go 50 on there, no problem. And I even feel that Cranesville, it could easily have gotten to the Route 50 sites going out Villi Road, going down 5 and up 50. They're choosing to come Spring to Baldwin, to Swaggertown, to Warren Road. So we need some communication. We need some help from you all. Chris, I know that you answered my call and we've spoken at length, but I just want you to know, as a community member, due to my involvement with the Amador development, I get a lot of emails from residents who are saying, now what do we do? So.
Well, you should know, I did talk to the chief, and he did say he was going to give special attention. And
good.
They do give special attention every time we get a call like that. At the very least, you should have seen a speed trailer by now.
We have seen that twice on Baldwin and on Spring. I recognize that, and I acknowledge that to the guy that I spoke to at the chief's office, that I see it, but I'm not sure how effective that is. You know, I don't know if that actually gets to the guy who's behind the wheel.
Right.
So
the next thing we'll do is we'll get a counter across the road, which will give us exact data on what's passing over, trucks, cars, SUVs, whatever, and at what speed, so we'll have at least data that we can approach Cranesville with. Now, they could say it's not their truck, but we can at least have a sense of the trucks are doing this speed, cars are doing this speed,
Right.
SUVs are doing this speed.
Right.
So that'll be the next step.
That's hugely helpful, and I'm grateful, I think that as a community, we have a lot to offer, but, when you run into these problems, and as I say, we've lived there for 50 years, very peacefully, and now all of a sudden, it's becoming a greater increase, and I stress it, I recognize the Amador project is a long-term project, it's gonna have a lot of truck traffic, and we stand to be negatively affected by that, so I think if we begin to start to hammer away at that, and I have a feeling that if we communicate with the Amador that we've already had a situation, I want to believe that they want to do this right, but I also think it's going to take some leadership from the community to say, guys, we have to really recognize that this is a big change for the residents.
Understood.
Okay, great, thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Anyone else wish to be heard? Privilege of the floor. Seeing none, going once, going twice, privilege of the floor closed. And we'll move to supervisors' comments to the board. I too just want to take a moment of my time on the supervisor's report to thank all those volunteers, thank our highway department for all that they did for Oktoberfest, our police officers for providing the public safety support. But in particular, we can't name everybody because we had over 200 volunteers. But we certainly can single out the leadership of the committee, and that is Heather Peterson, Dave Hennell, and Deputy Supervisor Jamie McFarland have given tremendous amount of time and effort and talent to coordinate all these volunteers across the community that came together. Over 800 volunteer hours were given for this effort, which is amazing. This is an opportunity for the community to come together, our businesses to come together. One thing maybe we didn't tout enough of, and we should, and next year we should, is that this did not cost taxpayer dollars. This was all fundraised from the community. The fireworks were underwritten by Frank and Sons, and I think maybe someone else with them. Everything was underwritten. We raised something around $30,000 to pay for the event. And so other than the labor that the town provided through highway and police and our administrative staff, it didn't cost taxpayer dollars in real money. So that's something I think to be proud of. The counts are in. Speaking of the counters, we had, I don't have it with me, we had something like over 4,000 vehicles come into Melwood Park on Saturday. When you do the math on that and you take an indicator, and everyone's going to take a different indicator, some take 2, some take 3, some take 2.5, but you're talking somewhere around 10,000. Let's just say between 8 and 10, 11,000 people for that event, which is significant, and it was very successful. Of course, we had another beautiful day, so that was good. Had an opportunity to address the Kiwanis Club in Schenectady. They asked if I would come in and talk about our budget, which we'll talk just a little bit about here tonight. I know it's been a topic of discussion for the board for the past 30 to 60 days. And also they wanted me to talk a little bit about our economic development strategy in Glenville and how the hotel is coming and all that type of stuff. So I was well received. I appreciate the Schenectadians, the Kiwanis Schenectadians welcoming me into their club. And I enjoyed the opportunity to talk. I also attended the grand opening of La Moda Lisa, which is now under new management. If any of you go to that business, it's a great business. There's a new owner, and she will continue in the same type of business that was there before, but she's very excited about her opportunity in Glenville. I also had a chance to join the mayor and unveil the new sign, at least the first sign on the Scotia Glenville High School for the Scotia Glenville boys basketball team for their state championships in 2014 and 2015. I want to thank again Tom and the highway folks who helped get the sign in the ground, and it's a nice tribute to the efforts that these boys made, and there'll be more signs going around the Scotia Glenville district. So you'll see some in the town. One is right here in front of Burmasters coming out of town center. There'll be one put there, and a few other places in the town and village. So if you see them, again, it's a great tribute. I attended the Chamber of Commerce Business Advocacy Council. to address issues related to the tax cap. They had some questions. They support the tax cap strongly, and they had some questions about why a municipality might be struggling with some issues. And so I was able to take that opportunity to educate them a little bit on what it means to be in a tax cap world when all of your costs are being increased because of the state, not because of what the municipality's doing. What we've actually controlled, we brought our costs down. What we can't control, costs are going up. State retirement, health insurance, to name two of the most obvious. And I said the model really is like this. If the chamber had to live under a tax cap world, or any of the businesses in here that represent the chamber, you would be out of business. You would not be able to run your business with someone telling you you can only take this much in revenue, but we're going to continue to increase your costs at this rate. It's a flawed, unfortunately, it's a flawed system. It has good, it makes sense in principle, but in implementation, the state failed to provide the cost relief needed for the municipalities. So we had a nice spirited conversation on that. I did have a chance, Gina, to attend the East Glenville Firehouse open house. Jim and I actually, we took a ride in a big bucket 100 feet up. What a beautiful view.
Holds
Saw
a
the
lot of weight.
Adirondacks. It was beautiful. What's that?
It holds a lot of weight.
It did. I was worried about that. They tethered us together, and I said, if the big guy goes down, I'm going down with him. I don't want to be tethered to him. Jeez. And you're a little afraid of heights. I did learn that.
But I went.
We did good. I also had a chance with Commissioner Coppola to attend the meeting with DEC to discuss the next stages of the water line coming to the Sunnyside neighborhood. We'll be having a community meeting on October 20th at the Senior Center. They're going to start their work this month, getting the trunk line in. Again, that's almost $2 million, $1.7 million right now in money coming from the federal government to pay for water to our residents.
Is that at 7 o'clock that night?
Tentatively, it's not, it's totally, but probably, that would make sense. And then other than that, just quick on the budget, Jason just gave us the year-end projections for 2015. I think you might have this in your mailbox, or we'll have it shortly, but we're projecting a surplus in the town general fund of about $15,000. So in a budget this size, that's pretty good budgeting a year out and ahead. On the revenue side, our court fines are expected to be only $135,000, well below our historic averages and well below the budgeted amount of $200,000. Mortgage revenues are expected to be about $500,000, down from $540,000 in 2014, and we budgeted $525,000 in 2015. So those two budget revenue lines are off. And that would normally be a problem for us. But on the expense side is where we made it up, which you have to, that's where you have to go when your revenues are down. And we expect to save a total of about $90,000 from efficiencies that were implemented in our dog control operations this year and in our cleaning and maintenance operations, where we brought in a private contract cleaner. 2015 is the first full year in which we'll realize the savings from these changes that were implemented in the last quarter of 2014. So if you remember, we did that, obviously, to save money, but it becomes our godsend now that we have revenue shortfalls in the A fund, and that will help cover it. Town outside the village, B fund, we project a surplus of about $25,000. So again, that's pretty good as the budget this size. It's not huge, but it certainly gets us on the right side of the ledger. Revenue notes, year to date, our Metroplex sales tax receipts are up 2% over 2014. That doesn't amount to a lot of money, but it's slightly up. In the expense side, we are tracking closely to our budget. Two large budgeted retirement payouts totaling $81,000 have been made out of the B fund, and we don't expect any additional retirements in 2015 out of the B fund. Highway is projected to break even, which is best we can ask. Revenue notes, fuel sales revenues are down, obviously, because prices are down. So our revenues are down for what we sell to other municipalities, but our usage is down too, so that's pretty much a wash, revenue and expense. And Highway Fund will be paying $20,000 in retro payments and other related employee benefits in October. As you know, we had settled the contracts, which included retros for 2015 with bonuses. You all got the budget memo, what's just a quick recap for the public so they understand it. The overall levy increase that I'm proposing is 0.45%, less than 0.5%. That means that the average home in the town of Glenville will see their levy increase by 12 cents for the entire year. 12 cents, period. Not per hundred, not per thousand, just 12 cents. We worked hard. I want to thank Jason and Jamie and Mike and the department heads and the employees and the board for all that we did to try to get this to where it would be an affordable, basically flat budget. We did also decrease our budget allocation, or I'm sorry, our fund balance allocation, again, from $550,000 last year to $500,000 this year. I'm sorry, 550 this year is 575 last year, but it's down from 1.4 million from 6 years ago, and that's important. When we narrowed that 1.4 million to get off of that, that's cut by 60%. So we're safeguarding the savings account. We absorbed a $100,000 increase in health insurance expense increase. That's one thing I talked about, and $240,000 in accrued leave time payouts, such as sick time and vacation time. And the other thing that we should talk about is we reduced debt by $6 million over the last 6 years. That frees up a tremendous amount of operating money to take on some of these cost increases that we can't control, health and retirement. And so we're allocating out of our debt requirements payment to operations. That helps. And the last piece is the economic development that this town board started 6 years ago. And I remember the conversations, we talked a lot with the public about it's going to take time, but the tax base is starting to expand. We're starting to see the benefits of the economic development for the town, and that's starting to have an effect on bringing the levy down townwide. We saw that in Scotia Glenville school budget. They actually had a tax decrease because of the expansion of the tax base. And so I say to the board, great vision, stay the course. I think we're going to see each year that base get better, better, and stronger, especially as those pilots start to phase out over time. Pilots we don't give, by the way, but the county does. So that's kind of the quick overview on budget and what's been going on. Any questions or comments?
It's just the same thing year after year that just drives me crazy. Almost $400,000 to the board of Elections. It's a waste, absolute waste of taxpayer dollars.
And Jason and I are looking into, really, we're noticing, looking at seriously, Glenville pays the biggest portion, right, just about, in the county. So the city of Schenectady has more registered voters than Glenville does, but for some reason, we're paying more than the city of Schenectady. It's something we have to investigate.
Well, that primary that was just held was the biggest farce.
Yeah.
You had the polling places with people that you're paying all over Glenville and Scotia, and a lot of them had maybe, what, 2, 3, 4 people show up
For the entire day.
for the entire day.
For 9 hours.
For 9 hours. It's just an absolute waste of taxpayer dollar. And I don't understand. And it, would it go up $30,000 this year?
This year, I think we're
It went
flat.
down.
It shows
And
now.
it
When
actually
I see
went down.
the adopted from last year at 387, I don't understand why that.
Haven't you said in the past, Alan, that when that first was proposed, it was supposed to be a cost savings?
Correct.
For the individual?
Correct. Just like the UCC is supposed to be
Right.
a cost saving.
Towns used to pay $40,000
At one point, it was 34,000.
Yeah.
I did some investigation.
when the towns ran it. When the county came in and said they'll take it over and save us money, it went to $400,000. In how many years? 11 years? 10, 11 years?
You ought to go down there during the normal course of business hours and walk in the front door and just look around you. You'll be disgusted at the amount of people standing around doing nothing.
And I know, Jim, your favorite topic is the sales tax.
I was just gonna say it. I know
I
it's
knew
a
you
longer,
were.
it's a longer term issue, but it's coming, and when it does, I am not gonna be a silent person. It's an absolute travesty that we don't get the revenue that we earn in this town, and that our residents have to, we put up with the traffic, and as you say, and we do not derive any, the so-called benefit, sales tax revenue from that. And that's the way the system is set up to work. The overall system is that we're supposed to be getting that revenue.
And we don't because the county
Right.
takes the lion's share of it.
And we've got to, I don't care if we have to lead the charge, but this municipality needs to lead the charge up to the county. All the other towns in this county got to follow our lead, and we've got to have a new agreement. When that agreement was it 2019?
Yeah. 2020.
2019 is when we'll start to negotiate. We've got to pound on the table.
And what I explained to the chamber was exactly that issue, that when you take, our three major revenue lines are in order: property tax, sales tax, mortgage tax. And your mortgage tax is dropping because of the economy, no fault of our own. And the sales tax stays flat for 14 years, because that arrangement goes back 7 years prior to now and 7 years out. 14 years, that second line stays pretty flat,
It shifts all the burden to the residential taxpayer.
and all of our costs are going up. Health insurance, 100,000, retirement, everything else. It only goes to the levy. That's the only spot left.
Right.
And that's the problem. So to come in at a 12-cent increase is pretty good. I congratulate everybody. Obviously, we'll have a public hearing on this the next board meeting.
21st.
You have 2 weeks from tonight.
And the 4th is another year.
And then the 4th is the public hearing? November 4th is the public hearing. So, anything else? Resolution 8, back to the agenda, reappointing Jim Bishop to a position. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Moved and second. Any discussion?
Mr. Supervisor, the chairman of the Board of Assessment Review and related staff support the reappointment of James Bishop, whose term recently expired. Be resolved that James Bishop, 287 Swidertown Road, Glenville, is hereby reappointed to the Town of Glenville's Board of Assessment Review for a term of 5 years according to Chapter 193 of the Real Property Tax Law from 1986, commencing October 1st, 2015, and expiring September 30th, 2020. The Board of Assessment Review members be compensated as follows: $100 per person per day for a grievance day, and $25 per person per hour for sessions following grievance day, with the chairman of the board receiving an additional $50 for his or her services.
Any questions or comments? Seeing none, please record the vote.
Councilman Martin?
Yes.
Councilman Bullock?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wozzowski?
Yes.
Supervisor Ketzley?
Yes, resolution passes. Next, resolution 9, scheduling a public hearing on October 21st. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Moved and second. Any discussion?
Mr. Supervisor, this resolution is to schedule a hearing to consider any objections made to the assessment roll for Water District Number 11 and extensions number 1 through 6 of the same of the Water District for the Town of Glenville. Hearing will be held on October 21st at 7 p.m. here at Town Hall.
Any questions or comments? Seeing none, please record the vote.
Councilman Martin?
Yes.
Councilman Bullock?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wozzowski?
Yes.
Supervisor Ketzley?
Yes, resolution passes. Next resolution, resolution 10, scheduling a public hearing for October 21st, 2015. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Moved and second. Any discussion?
Mr. Supervisor, this resolution is to schedule a public hearing to consider objections to the assessment roll for Sewer District Number 9 and Woodcrest Sewer Extension in the Town of Glenville. The hearing would be held on October 21st, 2015 at 7 p.m. here at Town Hall.
Any questions or comments? Seeing none, please record the vote.
Councilman Martin?
Yes.
Councilman Bullock?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wozzowski?
Yes.
Supervisor Ketzley?
Yes, resolution passes. Next, resolution 11, to schedule a public hearing on Wednesday, October 21st. Do I have a motion?
So
Do
moved.
I have a second?
Second.
Moved and second. Any discussion?
Mr. Supervisor, this is a resolution to consider a public hearing for objections to the assessment roll for the joint Acorn Drive Sewer District and Brookhaven Sewer District in the Town of Glenville. As you said, the hearing would be held on the 21st of October at 7 p.m. Here at Town Hall.
Any questions or comments? Seeing none, please record the vote.
Councilman Martin?
Yes.
Councilman Bullock?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wozzowski?
Yes.
Supervisor Ketzley?
Yes, resolution passes. Next, resolution 12, schedule a public hearing for October 21st. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Moved and second. Any discussion?
Mr. Supervisor, this resolution is to schedule a public hearing to hear any objections made to the assessment roll for All Cost Sewer District Number 1 and Extension Number 1 in the Town of Glenville. The hearing will be held on the 21st of October at 7 p.m. here at Town Hall.
Any questions or comments? Seeing none, please record the vote.
Councilman Martin?
Yes.
Councilman Bullock?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wozzachowski?
Yes.
Supervisor Ketzley?
Yes, resolution passes. Next, resolution 13, scheduling the Halloween safe evening for Halloween. Do I have a motion?
I'll move it.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Moved in second, any discussion?
Yes, Mr. Supervisor, this is the annual scheduling of the time to celebrate Halloween is Saturday, October 31st, 31st, between the hours of 4 p.m. and 8 p.m. And it's our annual safe Halloween that the Chief of Police encourages every year.
Any questions or comments? Seeing none, please record the vote.
Councilman Martin?
Yes.
Councilman Bullock?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wozzachowski?
Yes.
Supervisor Ketzley?
Yes, resolution passes. Next, resolution 14, authorizing the supervisor to execute all documents for a certain grant. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Moved in second, any discussion?
Mr. Supervisor, this resolution is in connection with funding that's been made available for competitive grant process through the New York State Justice Department Justice Court Assistance Program for the funding of municipal court security projects. Our town clerks have been extremely diligent in applying for these grants over the years and have been successful in obtaining funding for this courtroom, for the room that we're sitting in now. This resolution states that they are going to apply for funding for 2015 to 2016 Justice Court Assistance Program with a request amount not to exceed $30,000. This would authorize you, as you stated, to execute all necessary documentation for this application. Hopefully they will be successful. I would just like to say thank you very much to our court clerks. They work very, very hard to make sure that things run smoothly for our two justices, and this is over and above what their job requirements technically are. And like I said, they've been very successful over the years in obtaining them. So I'd like to thank them for their diligence and hard work in obtaining these extra monies for the town.
Any questions or comments? Seeing none, please record the vote.
Councilman Martin?
Yes.
Councilman Bullock?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wozzachowski?
Yes.
Supervisor Ketzley?
Yes, resolution passes. Next, resolution 15, approving the town board minutes for September 16th, 2015. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Moved in second, any discussion?
Mr. Supervisor, this is a resolution just to adopt the minutes for September 16th.
Seeing no changes or amendments, please record the vote.
Councilman Martin?
Yes.
Councilman Bullock?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wozzachowski?
Yes.
Supervisor Ketzley?
Yes, resolution passes. We're on to, let's do our add-ons before new business. So we'll go on to add-on number 1, which is a resolution scheduling a public hearing for October 21st, 2015. Do I have a motion?
So
Do
moved.
I have a second?
Second.
Moved in second, any discussion?
Mr. Supervisor, this is a resolution to schedule, as you stated, a public hearing in connection with the property and structures located at 1644 Rector Road in the town of Glenville. It's apparently a property that's become, due to attempted demolition, so unsafe and dangerous and filled with debris. That's a danger now to the health, safety, general welfare of our community. This public hearing will be to try to move forward with the town cleaning up the property and for the town to then pass the bill for that onto the tax-paying owner of the property, so we can recoup the cost of that. We've attempted other ways and means to go about it, including code violations going through town court, and the owner has been unresponsive as of this date. So this would again be scheduling a public hearing to start the process of cleaning up that property.
Any questions or comments? Seeing none, please record the vote.
Councilman Martin?
Yes.
Councilman Bullock?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wozzachowski?
Yes.
Supervisor Ketzley?
Yes, resolution passes. Next resolution add-on 2, a resolution proclaiming October 2015 as the National Disability Employment Awareness Month throughout the town of Glenville. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. I don't typically like to read resolutions, but because this is a resolution in celebration of Awareness Month, I'll read the resolution in which we are about to pass. And again, it's entitled National Disability Employment Awareness Month, celebrating 70 years, 1945 to 2015. Whereas held each October, National Disability Employment Awareness Month is a time to celebrate the many and varied contributions of America's workers with disabilities. The theme for this year, which marks 70 years since its first observance, is My Disability is One Part of Who I Am. And whereas workplaces welcoming of the talents of all people, including people with disabilities, are a critical part of our efforts to build an inclusive community and a strong economy. In this spirit, the Glenville Town Board recognizes National Disability Employment Awareness Month this October to raise awareness about disability employment issues and to celebrate the many and varied contributions of people with disabilities. Now therefore be resolved that the town board of the town of Glenville hereby proclaims October 2015 as National Disability Employment Awareness Month throughout the town of Glenville. And in doing so, we encourage employers and schools and other community organizations in the town to observe this month with appropriate programs and activities and to advance its important message that people with disabilities are equal to the task throughout the year. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, please record the vote.
Councilman Martin?
Yes.
Councilman Blumer?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wozzachowski?
Yes.
Supervisor Kettsley?
Yes, resolution passes. And now on to item 16, new business. I'll start on my left with Councilman Blumer.
Mr. Supervisor, you didn't talk about this in the supervisor's comments, and I don't know if, Jim, you're gonna pick it up, but I noticed that DEC and Precision Maintenance have mobilized at the Cole property. That's a good sign, so hopefully by the end of October, end of this month, it'll be gone.
I meant to, and I thought I mentioned in the last report that October is the month that it's coming down. So that's very good news. They're on site, you're saying?
Yes, I saw both Precision Maintenance showed up this morning, and I know DEC has been there for at least 2 or 3 days, so.
Councilwoman Wozzachowski.
Since we're talking about months in honor of different things, this is also National Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and this is also National Domestic Violence Awareness Month. So those are 2 things to keep in mind, very important causes that we should be conscious of, you know, not just in the month of October, but all year round.
Thank you. Councilman Martin.
Nothing to report, or nothing new.
Nothing new. And I have nothing new either, so I entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll move it.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
We're